Hello fellow gardeners, and welcome back to Smart Garden. Today I'm sharing a technique that might just revolutionize how you think about soil fertility. I'm talking about a method that compresses months of soil building into just 24 hours, giving you the kind of rich, living earth that plants absolutely thrive in. This is biochar charging, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it's a legitimate game changer that produced results in my own garden that honestly shocked me the first time I witnessed them. The soil breakthrough. You haven't heard about. How many of us have spent season after season adding compost, rotating crops and following all the traditional advice, only to end up with harvests that are just okay. Your tomatoes might be decent but not abundant. Or, your lettuce grows but lacks that deep green vitality you see in other gardens. I've been there, and the answer wasn't about adding more of what I was already doing. It was about fundamentally changing the structure and microbial life of my soil at a deeper level. Imagine walking into your garden and seeing plants that aren't just surviving but exploding with growth, their leaves displaying that rich, deep color that speaks to genuine health. This isn't wishful thinking. This is what happens when you create soil that's truly alive, teeming with beneficial microorganisms that form partnerships with plant roots and unlock nutrients that would otherwise remain inaccessible. The secret is biochar, but here's the critical piece most gardeners miss. The real magic isn't in the biochar itself, but in what you do to it before it ever touches your garden soil. Unlocking biochar's superpowers. To understand why charging biochar matters, you need to know what biochar actually is. Biochar is essentially charcoal produced specifically for agricultural use through a process called pyrolysis, where organic materials are heated in a low-oxygen environment. The result is a carbon-rich material with an incredibly porous structure. Imagine millions of tiny chambers and tunnels at a microscopic level. This structure gives biochar enormous surface area. A single gram of high-quality biochar can have a surface area of several hundred square meters when you account for all those internal pores. When you add raw, uncharged biochar directly to your garden, that empty porous structure acts like a vacuum, actually pulling nutrients and microbes out of your existing soil as it fills those chambers. This creates a temporary nutrient deficit that can slow plant growth rather than accelerate it. This is why some gardeners try biochar once, see disappointing results, and conclude it doesn't work. They simply used it incorrectly. The difference between raw biochar and charged biochar is the difference between an empty apartment building and a thriving community. When we charge biochar, we're colonizing all those porous chambers with beneficial bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that plants depend on for optimal health. These microbes actively break down organic matter, fix nitrogen from the air, make minerals available to plant roots, and even produce compounds that help plants resist diseases and pests. We're also pre-loading the biochar with nutrients, meaning that when you add charged biochar to your soil, you're creating an immediate surplus of everything your plants need rather than a deficit. The simple charging recipe. Let me walk you through my proven method for charging biochar in just 24 hours. This technique uses aerated compost tea, which is essentially a liquid culture of beneficial microorganisms that we'll use to inoculate our biochar. The aeration is absolutely critical because it encourages rapid multiplication of aerobic microbes, the good guys your plants love, while preventing harmful anaerobic microbes. Start by gathering your materials. You'll need biochar crushed into pieces no larger than a ½ inch. For the container, I use a 5-gallon bucket for smaller batches or a 55-gallon drum for larger projects. The water matters more than you might think. If you're on municipal water containing chlorine, let it sit uncovered for at least 24 hours before starting. Chlorine will kill the very microbes we're trying to cultivate, so this step isn't optional. Your microbial source is where the magic begins. I use a combination of high-quality finished compost, worm castings, and a handful of healthy soil from an established part of my garden. The compost and worm castings provide diverse microorganisms, while the local soil introduces native microbes already adapted to your specific conditions. To this base, I add microbe food, nutrients that feed the microorganisms and encourage rapid multiplication. My go-to recipe includes unsulfured blackstrap molasses for simple sugars that microbes love. along with liquid kelp and fish emulsion for a broader nutrient spectrum. A typical ratio for a 5-gallon batch would be 2 cups of compost, 1 cup of worm castings, 2 tablespoons of molasses, and a tablespoon each of liquid kelp and fish emulsion. The aeration system doesn't need to be complicated. A simple aquarium pump with an air stone works perfectly for a 5-gallon bucket. For larger batches, a pond aerator provides more robust bubbling. The goal is maintaining a constant stream of fine bubbles throughout the entire solution. Position your air stone at the bottom and ensure the bubbles are vigorous enough to create visible movement throughout the liquid. Once your water is dechlorinated, go ahead and add all your microbial sources and food ingredients, then turn on the aerator and let it bubble for, about 2 to 3 hours. This pre-brewing step, it really allows the microbes to wake up, start feeding, and begin multiplying. You'll notice the solution becomes darker and develops an earthy, slightly sweet smell. That's exactly what you want. After pre-brewing, add your crushed biochar to the actively bubbling solution. The biochar will initially float, but as the aerated liquid forces its way into all those pores, it'll gradually sink and become fully saturated. Continue aerating for a full 12 to 24 hours. Personally, I like to start batches in the evening and let them run overnight into the next day, giving me a full 24-hour charge cycle. During this time, the constant bubbling forces that microbe-rich liquid deep into every pore within the biochar structure. When you finally turn off the aerator, you'll have biochar absolutely teeming with beneficial life. A living soil amendment ready to supercharge your garden immediately. Your fertile future starts today. The timing of application is crucial with charged biochar. Unlike raw biochar that's stable for years, the microbial activity in freshly charged biochar is at its peak the moment you finish and begins declining once aeration stops. So, you want to use it immediately or within just a few hours of completing the charge cycle. When I'm preparing beds for planting, I work the charged biochar directly into the top 6 to 8 inches of soil, using about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch layer spread across the bed surface before mixing. For established plants, you can top dress around the root zone and water it in thoroughly, or create planting pockets for transplants by mixing charged biochar with existing soil at about a 25% ratio. Container gardeners can mix charged biochar into potting soil at the same ratio when potting up plants or refreshing containers. You're not just adding a soil amendment, you're introducing a thriving ecosystem that will benefit your plants throughout the entire growing season and beyond, because biochar itself persists in soil for hundreds or even thousands of years. The transformation in your soil won't be subtle. Within weeks, you'll likely notice plants displaying more vigorous growth, deeper green coloring in their leaves, and improved resilience during periods of stress from heat, drought, or pest pressure. The biochar acts as both a habitat for beneficial microbes and as a buffer that helps regulate soil moisture and nutrient availability, meaning your plants have consistent access to everything they need. Many gardeners report that their soil structure improves dramatically over time as well, becoming more crumbly and easier to work while simultaneously holding moisture more effectively. Beyond your garden beds, charged biochar has applications that might surprise you. I use it in compost bins to accelerate decomposition and reduce odors, add it to potting mixes for houseplants, and even work it into problem areas of my lawn where compaction has created bare spots. The principles remain the same. You're introducing both the physical structure that improves soil properties and the biological life that drives nutrient cycling and plant health. If you're ready to begin your soil fertility journey and experience what truly alive, biologically rich soil can do for your garden, start by sourcing quality biochar and the simple ingredients needed for charging. This isn't complicated or expensive, and the entire 24-hour process requires only minutes of actual hands-on time. The results will transform how you think about soil building and plant health. If you found this guide valuable and you're excited to try biochar charging in your own garden, please subscribe to Smart Garden and hit that share button so other gardeners can discover this powerful technique. Let me know in the comments how your charged biochar performs. I love hearing about your successes. Together, we're building a community of gardeners committed to creating the most productive, sustainable growing spaces possible. Until next time, happy gardening.